Okay, welcome, folks. Happy Thursday. Welcome to today's LinkedIn Live. I am Ben Slater. I'm VP of Marketing here at Beamery. And for folks of you who are less aware about Beamery, our talent lifecycle management platform helps, really a who's who of the world's largest businesses identify, recruit, develop, retain, and deploy talent and create a more human experience for candidates, employees, and alumni. Over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to be sharing some of the latest data from our 5th edition of the Talent Index. And really, we run these reports on a quarterly basis to give you the uncomfortable truth. And truths can be uncomfortable. We want to share what your talent is really thinking, the things that are on their mind when it comes to progression, career development, and really the world at large. So we run this survey across a couple of key geos. This time we've run it across the UK, the US, and also Australia. We choose a mixture of different businesses to get a really effective snapshot of what the broad span of society is thinking about the world of work, and it enables us to draw some pretty interesting insights about what is front of mind for workers across the globe. So we're going to go through a few of the takeaways from this latest talent index. We're live on LinkedIn, so if you have thoughts, drop them in the chat. This asset will live on LinkedIn afterwards, and obviously I'll share my contact details at the end of this session if you want to reach out directly and ask any questions about the research. So let's get started. So from our latest research, we really dug into 4 big themes, and we're going to unpack them over the course of the next 10 to 15 minutes. The first was productivity, right? We work in a new way today than we did before. So how is this new hybrid model of work impacting the way people think about worker productivity, impacting the way that employees want to work, and impacting the way that organizations think about how to get people going and get them productive. The second, obviously, we're all pretty familiar with the term, the Great Resignation. I've also seen the Great Reshuffle. It's really showing no signs of abating, and this is interesting, and we'll get into it. And the third and the fourth, so at Beamery, we're a huge believer of the importance of empowering your employees to grow within the organization, help them learn new skills, help them develop, and help them ultimately achieve career ambitions at your company. We're going to get into some of what our data is telling us about the power of internal career opportunities. With a wave of new regulation coming out about the fair use of AI in the workplace, we want to understand how your employees view the use of AI. Is it something that people see as a negative or a positive? So let's get started. Productivity. We are ultimately inherently social beings. So in general, what we see across the broad span of our research is that people are happy to be back in the office, right? I can speak for myself, certainly. I love being around other people. It gives me energy. I think we've all had those days where it's been, Zoom call after Zoom call after Zoom call, and, you leave feeling drained. So we're inherently social beings, and by and large, people are happy. Now, there is a bit of a divide here, and the divide is around productivity. So employers are concerned that their people are less productive when they're not in the office, and employees, 73% of employees feel more or just as productive working from home as working from the office. And look, I think that's to be understood. This is the first inning of this new way of work, and there's probably a fair amount of change of kind of historical biases that we need to go through when it comes to what work means. I think one of the interesting things that we saw is that a lot of the benefit that people see in terms of returning to the office is really around communication and mentorship, right? And we saw this particularly, with more junior employees who, are looking for mentorship and are really looking for opportunities to soak in information through osmosis. So, what does this mean for your organization, right? It means that, you can't have a one size fits all approach to the world of work. You need to listen. if we've learned anything about the world of work in the past couple of years, it's that people want different things. People don't want a linear career path anymore. People don't, want to progress from job 1 to job 2 to job 3. They want, a career jungle gym. And it's the same in terms of the way they work. So listen to your workforce, understand what people want, run regular pulse surveys. Don't just kind of bounce back to a rigid structure. The second piece is around trust and empowerment, right? Ensure that you're able to be productive and collaborative in a hybrid setting. Make sure you have the right people, process, and technology to do so. And the third is rethink your office strategy. If the office isn't just, huge banks of desks, what is it? It should be a central place of purposeful collaboration. And that may mean rethinking, the types of activities that happen in your office and, the things that you ask people to do when they come in. The second piece, so the Great Resignation. I think this is probably the term that I've heard most in the world of work over the past couple of years. But it's really interesting. If we look at the data over the 5 talent indexes we've run, so run them over a 5-quarter period, we've seen very consistent answers in terms of the number of people that are considering leaving the business. So it's always been between 50 and 60% of people who are considering leaving their role in the next 12 months. And that's a super interesting stat, particularly as we're going into potentially different market conditions, potentially different economic conditions. I don't like the recession word, but it's certainly something that's front of mind for every organization. You'd think in that scenario that it may be people, would be, more inclined to stay in the role that they're in today. But clearly that hasn't passed all the way through. I think a big reason for that is the lack of visibility around internal options. If 58% of respondents said that, if the company was recruiting externally for a role they're interested in and they weren't invited to apply, then they would leave the business. And that's a really important thing to remember. And we'll get into internal careers in just a second, but it's not on the employee, or it shouldn't be on the employee, to find out about these roles. We have to, as businesses, have an ability to surface roles that are the right fit for employees' skills. And we have to put the employee at the center of their own career journey. Otherwise, we very clearly are at risk of losing employees. And look, we all know the cost of that to an organization, both in terms of productivity, in terms of rehiring, and also in terms of putting businesses behind what are probably already stretched hiring plans. So what can we do to stop attrition? And I found this stat fascinating, right? 80% of people, and if you remember back to the previous slide, the number of people that, would potentially look elsewhere, 80% would stay if they had more opportunities for internal moves. I think back to a presentation I gave at last year's Spark Live, which is our annual conference at Beamery. And at that time, we were talking about some data in terms of internal applications. How many of those received no responses? And what I heard at the time was shocking, right? 60% of people that applied for internal jobs were never hearing back. And if you put that side by side with this information, I think it's really interesting. All people want is the opportunity to progress, the opportunity to learn, the internal opportunities they have for growth. And in many instances, it isn't as visible as it should be. It isn't as clear as it should be. It isn't individualized to the employee. We need to get to a situation where employees are able to choose their own adventure within a business, where they're able to learn new skills that are going to help them develop in their career, where they're able to take on different types of work. This is something we're very focused on enabling our customers to achieve with Beamery, because ultimately that personalized experience, that consumer-like experience to career development, is the thing that we're all seeking in today's world. So the first piece, what are the problems? Visibility and transparency was something that came through when we ran the survey. And that could be, employees only accessing or only being able to see job opportunities in their own department. It could be that they could only see opportunities in their own location. It could be that they have access to everything, but that percentage is very low, right? So I think the first thing to think about as an organization is, how do you make sure that someone sees everything that is applicable to the skills that they have today? And those skills could make them relevant for a broad span of jobs. If I work in a job where project management is key to the way my work gets done, that likely sets me up for a pretty broad span of careers across the enterprise. And right now, I may only see jobs that are existing in my current department. So the first step is making this open and making it searchable and making it easy for employees to access and understand. The second is making it easy, right? Often we make employees jump through the same types of hoops we would an external applicant, and we forget that these are people we have an enormous amount of information about. We know how they are productive in their roles. We know their skills, the way they like to work. We have lots of performance related data around them. Yet we're not leveraging that. We're not leveraging our understanding of who someone is. In many instances, we're starting from scratch every time. So leverage the information, make it easy, allow people to progress across different areas of the organization, and focus this on skills. I think, this is a conversation we have continually with customers. And, it's really exciting to see the level of transformation that businesses are driving when it comes to skills and using skills as a primary measure for progression and assessment. What we see in our data, though, is that, there are big chunks of, the respondents that aren't receiving guidance on the skills that they need to learn to progress in their role. They're not able to, connect the new skills that they would, gain at the moment with their current role. And they often feel that the employer doesn't actually know the skills that they have, right? And in many instances here, what we're looking at is an information problem. If organizations are able to better understand the skills that someone has today and the skills someone will learn tomorrow, they're able to make these internal opportunities much more accessible to employees in a scalable way, in a personalized way. And again, this is something that we're focused on delivering at Beamery. I think there's an enormous amount of opportunity here for organizations to really personalize the skills-based progression of employees within their company. But it all starts with understanding the data, and it all starts with making sure that employees are focused on the skills that they need to learn to progress. Finally, and I teased this at the start, so with the new regulations coming out around AI, we wanted to really understand the current perception of AI in the workplace. Do people see it as a positive or a negative? Is it something that people think is creating more equity, right? Or is it something that people feel is creating and leading to bias? So good news, 66% of respondents identified at least one way that AI could be used to make the workplace fairer, right? Which is fantastic. And 51% thought that AI algorithms adhere to ethical standards, which is great. Now, the only thing about that, it's 50%, right? So on the flip side, there are 49% of people that actually believe that AI algorithms may not adhere to ethical standards. And I think what's super important is if you are deploying an AI solution to help improve, productivity or help, allow for more data for your recruiters to understand, which candidates might be a better fit for which role, it's incredibly important to understand the explainability of that AI solution. What are the standards that it adheres to? Is it auditable, right? Can you stand behind the decisions that you're making based on the suggestions that the AI has? Is it transparent? Is it clear box? These are all terms, right, that we've heard, we talk about, we see in the media. But with increasing regulation around this, it's going to be more and more important to make sure that with every suggestion you have or you leverage based on an AI solution you might be using in your talent team, you're able to really deeply understand why that suggestion has been made. We can't work with platforms that are purely black box and spit out, a set of suggestions based on a secret algorithm, right? It doesn't work today, and it doesn't work with a generation of people coming into the workforce that are perhaps the most privacy and data conscious of any generation. So really interesting data, and definitely plenty to think about when it comes to AI in the workplace. So look, these were our 4 themes today: productivity, the great resignation, the power of internal career opportunities and how organizations need to be approaching that, and AI in the workplace. I'm Ben Slater, VP of Marketing at Beamery. As I said, I've been a pleasure to talk you through these insights. If you want to get in touch, please connect me on LinkedIn. If you can remember that complicated looking URL there. If not, reach out to me at ben@beamery.com. And, if you're interested in digging into the data in a bit more detail, you can do that on our website. So thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your Thursday, wherever you are.